What's up, guys? This is Kalo, and normally I'm here to give you the lowdown on all things gaming, but we are back for yet another episode of Game Sandwich Presents The Cutting Board, and I'm joined today by the one and only Aiden. Why don't you say what's up?
Ooh, woo.
Ooh, woo. No dab, no nothing today. I respect that. It's a nice change.
I have
But,
to change things up every now and then.
you're not the only one changing things up, because when we talk about getting our favorite games, we expect to get them now. We'll go on Steam, we'll download them, buy them, do whatever, the Microsoft Store, PlayStation, whatever have you. But there is a headline that you brought to my attention recently that has me scratching my head, and do we want to call this a bold strategy by a former game developer? Is that what we're going to run with?
I mean, I would call it bold. I mean, I've never seen another dev actually say this, so
That is fair. So, in case you don't know what we're talking about, a developer from the game Rollerdrome recently said to all the people out there, please pirate this game because none of us work for the company that owns this anymore. Things I never thought I'd say in 2024. Now, this is the 2-year anniversary of the game, and I I would be led to believe there are maybe bad feelings between this developer and the people that bought out the company. I think it was Take-Two or 2K. I could be wrong here. Yeah, Take-Two.
yeah, it says it was shuttered earlier in this year by Take-Two, as the CEO also received, by the way, a $26 million pay raise. So there's that one to piss people off.
It's just salt in the wound at this point. But this whole thing brought up a question of pirating games, and I want to dissect this like specific situation more because one, I can't recall anybody in gaming calling for this, especially when they worked on the game. Whenever you work on a game, at least from what I've seen, people are passionate about what they do, and rightfully so. I want you guys to watch these videos because we work hard on this. I want you guys to go check out the website because all the writers do an amazing job. I would never go out and say, hey, just illegally download our videos, even though we're on YouTube. But that's besides the point.
No, go out and illegally download.
Hey, sure. I
Our
mean,
videos are everywhere, apparently.
apparently. But it's so weird to see a developer say this. And I I don't want to downplay Rollerdrome, but do you know this game? Because honestly, I've seen it before. I got the concept, but I didn't think it was as popular as I'd be led to believe here.
I honestly didn't know anything about it. I've seen it once or twice, but then after that, it was just like I mean, looking on Steam, I mean, it's got a solid 1,300 reviews. So I mean, it does have some sort like some popularity behind it, but it's also a BAFTA award-winning game too. Just throwing that one out there. But I mean, I've never seen it as one of those games. It's like, oh, there's going to be like 100,000 people playing it or 200,000 people playing it, but by my guess here, I would say that there's probably like a solid 10 to 20,000 player base for it. That's what I would guess, at least.
That's
So, I
solid.
mean, there's popularity there.
Now, I guess this leads into the bigger question of pirating games in general. It's a bad practice. It's illegal. I just want to put that disclaimer out there. Um, But there are companies, and I just look to Nintendo always when it comes to these things, where they're older games, and I'm looking at GameCube games specifically, at least for my taste. Some of those games aren't available, and they're not available in like a fashion where I can go to NSO and get them and play them off their service, which I would do willingly at no extra charge here. I have NSO, I have all that expansion pass. When they throw GameCube on there, I'm for it. But for the older games, and I'm always going to bring up this game, Pokemon Coliseum or XD Gale of Darkness, I look and I can't find it anywhere, and the secondhand market is going to charge me rent for the next 5 months to get the damn game. So it's like, all right, what options do I have here at this point? And I don't know. It's so weird. I wish companies would just address the fact that, like, hey, Our older games are available here. Download them, do whatever you want. They're available. Just get them. Like, give us 10, 15 bucks. Do that. But pirating, especially for those niche titles, that seems like the only option you can take.
Yeah, I mean, like really, like you said, like pirating really is like the only option you have when it comes to niche titles. I mean, where else am I going to end up playing the old Fairly Odd Parents game from the GameCube? I want to play Breaking the Rules.
Oh,
Jeez.
such a good one. Such a good one.
The only Fairly Odd Parents game, to my knowledge, but also extremely good. No, like I want to be able to play old games like that. And like really when it comes to old games like that and running emulators and everything, like I don't really see an issue with that. Like I fail to see why any company should be allowed to take legal action on that. Like I somewhat understand it just because it is their property, but also at the same time, if they're not going to do anything with that property, and like you said, with the cost of games being so high when you want to be a collector of them,
Yeah.
like we have a guy on the team, Mike. He is a collector. He goes out and buys old games all the time, and then he'll complain the next day that, hey, I just blew like $200, $300 of my paycheck on a game that I had to save up for or whatever, and he could have just gotten the game for free or like real cheap online just by pirating it or downloading some pirating software.
It's so weird. Earlier this year, there was this whole problem with Xbox, and I'm going to try to piece the story together very loosely, so correct me if I'm wrong with any of this information. The Xbox Series X has this developer mode that allows you to download other content onto the console, and one of them was emulators. And that was a big problem throughout the year of, like, oh, should we allow emulation off the Xbox? Is that right? Is that fair? Is that whatever? They ended up blocking it for a certain amount of time. Now it recently came back. And it's just weird to me to see companies nowadays that are struggling for money that say, oh, the gaming market is too bloated. We can't turn around AAA games that fast, so we need something. Just release your older games. There's an audience out there for some of those titles. Maybe send out like a focus group or something to kind of gauge what titles people are interested in. Then say, hey, this month we're going to be getting these titles brand new. Like, we haven't ported them over ever. And I'm sure, like, I know people want the best gaming experience when it comes to like remasters, remakes, blah, 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 and those are a separate thing. But let's just say it's the end of August. Super Mario Sunshine is going to be on NSO. They didn't change nothing. It's just the game. People will be happy about that.
Oh yeah, I mean definitely. If they were to release any old game, everyone would like lose their shit about it.
Yeah, it's
I mean,
so
one
weird.
game that I would absolutely lose my like shit over is like there's an old game I used to play on the Xbox, like original Xbox, mind you. And that one was it was like Rogue Trooper or something like that.
Hmm.
I don't know if you remember that game. It's like a third person shooter with like you play as like a blue guy and it's like all army themed and everything.
I'm going to look this up right now.
If like it is absolutely a fun as hell game, but it will never end up being released. You'll never end up seeing it again. Yeah, it it absolutely is Rogue Trooper. I just looked it up myself too. But that one never gonna end up being re-released again. And like I know they did the whole Redux thing back in 2017, it looks like, but like even that, like they're never gonna make another one. They're never gonna want to like actually bring it to a remake standard or anything. So I'm just like I would rather them just re-release the original. I'd rather them do the same thing on Nintendo games, like any old games. But Nintendo underutilizes all of their properties.
It, I say this now, and we've gotten to the point where none of the older Pokemon games, Red, Blue, like Fire Red, Leaf Green, none of those games are on NSO right now. And how many?
Ignoring yellow.
Well, Yellow's out there too. I like to bundle them, but you know, like they aren't on the service. They're not on the eShop, to my knowledge. I think they're on like the 3DS eShop, but like 3DS, great. I'm talking about the Switch. And it's also why I think a service like Game
Well,
Pass
dip down the
exists.
3DS shop too.
Yeah, they just took that down, so rest
Yeah.
in peace to that.
So there literally is no way to get it.
There's no way. But it's a reason why I think a service like Game Pass exists, where they're like, hey, like, we have this whole back catalog of games, and it's just there, and we keep adding to it. If, in fact, Xbox decides, like, hey, it's a slow month, no games are coming out, no whatever is happening right now, maybe Rogue Troopers could get an Xbox port to, I don't know, Game Pass one day randomly. And it's like, okay, like, that's what we need. Add value to the service. PlayStation Plus, you talk about people who abuse older IPs, let alone never touch them. Jak and Daxter, Sly Cooper, where are you? I need to find, like, grant you, they put Daxter on PS Plus a few months back. It's like they're teasing me at this point. But it's like, all right, add to your service. Put these games on there. It's not going to cost anything. And I'm sure there's going to be people like me that don't have these games readily available. We'll subscribe and get that for the sake of having that game.
Oh yeah, I mean, like, really every single company, especially I would say especially Nintendo and PlayStation, because they have the biggest back catalogs. But at least like Sony and Nintendo should definitely like make their own like emulator platforms
Yeah.
and just release them. There you go. Or like make it a whole new service, like you said. Maybe like, oh yeah, do like $10 a month or something like that. You get access to our entire back catalog. There you go. It would reduce pirating if they want to reduce pirating in general, and it would give people access to all the games that they want to play. You'd be able to go back and play Pokemon Yellow. I refuse to say the others because you ignored Pokemon Yellow, but
Fair.
but it would also like allow people to go back and play like the old Sly Cooper games and everything without actually having to go out, buy a PlayStation, buy the game from another company. I mean, at least Sony isn't even making money off of it at that point. Even if someone goes out and buys a PS2, because it's whoever owns it right now at this
Yeah.
point.
It's all the second
So
hand.
they could definitely just make money off of it, but it's just like almost like they just refuse to. Like they just want to let the past die and
It's so mind-blowing. There is
not
money
accept it.
on the table. Like, literally, there is money. I would argue a fairly large stack of it in the middle of the table. And Nintendo and PlayStation, even though Nintendo, I think that's coming for the Switch too, with all the Pokemon games and all that. PlayStation, though, is sitting there like, no, don't need it. Don't need it. Don't want it. And it's
They
like,
released the Switch 2, and then their whole idea of like, oh hey, we're bringing back the classics is they're bringing back like Pokemon Black and White.
uh, it's things like that that'll get me. It's like, I need red and blue. I need yellow. I need
Oh,
crystal. I need, like, silver and gold will do with that
here's
what
your
you
old
want.
classic. You get Pokemon Leaf Green.
Call me crazy. I'd be fine with that. I still have them though. Like, I'm one of those people in the rare instance. I still have all of my Pokemon games from like Red and Blue up, but yeah, like there's nothing there. It's also a thing. I remember the Delta emulator was a big thing on iPhones at least a few months ago, and you can play these games on there. And companies always struggle to get in the mobile sector of gaming. Xbox has been trying to do that. But I look at Nintendo and PlayStation, where iPhones or Androids, they pretty much like this can run a PlayStation game. This can run a GameCube game if it really wanted to. It's
Oh,
like
for sure.
it's like, why don't you just launch a mobile emulator that is all yours, put up an eShop, and it's like there. Like, we're not gonna put it on our console, but like, here, put it on your phone and like go. Don't talk to me. People would eat
Dude,
that
so many
up.
people lose their shit over that.
Oh
They
my
would.
gosh. I when that Delta
Especially
emulator came out, I lost it. I was like, I'm doing all this.
what phone is it? It's that one Android that's the actual flip that opens up like that, like an old flip phone and everything. You put an emulator on that for like an old like Game Boy Advance games and stuff. You could actually like hold it like a Game Boy Advance, and
Oh,
people would like absolutely lose it at that point.
I just realized how good of an idea that was. So, trademark something somewhere. Like, if it happens, you heard it here first. It I just don't understand. There's money on the table for everybody, and pirating games, I guess, to get back to the core thing of this, it's bad, it's illegal, you shouldn't do it. But
You should do it.
look at that. This should be hot topic because we're debating here. But like, you know, they're forcing us into this corner. Like, there's no other way to describe it, and this isn't like playing victim. There is no other way to obtain these older games because these companies refuse, for whatever reason, to not touch these games or at least throw them out there, bare bones, minimal effort, and be like, here's the port of Jak and Daxter 2, and like, we didn't touch it. That's just it. Like, people
I
would be
think
happy with that.
really the main reason why they aren't doing it is because they would have to spend resources on making the ports.
Mm,
They would have to they would have to expend some sort of resource of theirs to go, oh hey, we're putting like the original Pokemon games on a mobile device. It's just like with the trading cards, like yeah, you can put the trading card game on mobile and they did, but like really they had to expend some sort of resource, hire people to make that.
yeah.
I'm sure that that's where their whole standstill is they're like, we don't know if there's a big enough market to hire somebody or to divert some of our people to making sure that all of these get ported over. I'm sure it would not take extremely long. It'd probably take at most like, not my guess is probably like 6 months, depending on like the size of the cat, like the
Yeah.
you know the catalog of games. I mean, Nintendo's a smaller catalog, so probably not as long, but like Sony has a much bigger catalog, so really give it upwards of 6 months. I mean, that's still 6 months worth of salary that you have to give to somebody to do that job or whatever. And like there's also the salary of paying someone to make the app or make the emulator, so I think that's the hang up is they don't see what profit they'll make from that.
Well, call me crazy. Let's just do like they did with the Mandalorian and hire the people that are doing it already on the internet. The Delta emulator team is out there. The Dolphin emulator team is out there. Like, there are things people could do here to be like, hey, we want to do this. You have experience. What if we work out a deal or something to like get this done? Let's try it and let's figure it out. I think that could be done. It's also a lot with Nintendo having, like, they have a tough time swallowing their pride of, like, hey, like, we got to do it the old Nintendo way and no other way is possible. But, I don't know. It's food for thought if you're listening and you happen to be in these circles. There's people out there that do this. It can be done rather fast, and we don't ask for much. Just give us the port. That's it. That's all we need.
And to add on to what you said, like they could just buy the emulators instead.
Yeah.
I mean,
That.
really, instead of making them, they could just buy the emulator. Like, oh, hey, you already made this emulator. Here's, like, X number of dollars, however much they see the emulator as being worth,
Yeah.
and just go, we would like to buy this emulator from you. If you give it to us, there you go. We get access to everything that you did. You get a nice chunk of money.
Yeah. And I'm sure there's companies out there that would do it in a heartbeat. And especially if it's like a big bag from Nintendo. I mean, who are you to turn it down? Honestly, I would accept instantly. But do you have any more thoughts on pirating games or just this whole mess of this developer saying just do it because we don't own it?
I mean, I'm all for the developer saying it just because they got screwed over by a company. They have every right to tell people to do that and tell people how to do it, in my opinion.
Full
It's like,
tutorial.
I mean, if I was screwed over by somebody, I'd probably do the exact same thing. Hell, I got screwed over by a website and made a website. So like,
There you go.
I mean,
This
I'm
is
petty
it.
like that.
This is it in practice. I guess it's also like a weird thing where it's like, all right, it's Take-Two. It's a big company that is not suffering any kind of loss by this, and it's like, did you really need to do it? There's a lot of companies making those moves. It's just not Take-Two alone. But certainly we've seen this story before, and it's just bad. It's just not fun. It's like things that, like, they pour money into these games, time and effort, and then they're like, yeah, no, bye, we don't need you. It's like, oh, come on, like, why?
Yeah. I just know one thing for sure. That's you should pirate our videos.
There, I mean,
There you
hey,
go.
we're speaking of our videos.
Why bother watching us on YouTube? Just pirate us.
Just download them all the video downloaders out there. But speaking of more of our videos, we're on Instagram, TikTok, all the fun stuff. Go check out our little Game Bites over there. Check out more of our videos here on the channel. We got a lot more coming up in the next few weeks. Also, go check out our Discord where we're talking about games 24/7, 365. It's a good time because links to all that is in the video description down below. But as of right now, I've been Kalo, joined by Aiden, and we'll see you guys next time.
Ooh.
If you enjoyed today's video and want more content just like this, consider subscribing to Game Sandwich for all your news, rumors, and reviews. And we'll see you guys next time.